Okay, now we're going to do lesson 3.7, which is solving equations or inequalities rather in the form of ax plus b is less than c. Up through lesson 3.5, it has all been about equalities, and lessons 3.6 and 3.7 had been about inequalities. But all the properties that apply to lessons 1 through 5, 3.1 through 3.5 about equalities, as far as the properties go, you're going to see those also apply to inequalities. But there's some new things that also apply to inequalities. Okay, so the big idea is if you have an inequality in this form, ax plus b is less than c, it can be solved in two steps, similar to those used for ax plus b equals c. The homework is to read 3.6 after you've watched the video. If you're not comfortable with the video, then read it after we have our brief discussion in class. And one of these two will be your homework. If I've not already assigned it, then you can come see me and I'll tell you which of the two. But if I have already assigned it, then you know it's most likely the 1 through 27. Okay, the first thing they talk about in this lesson is the addition property of inequalities. The addition property of inequality says if I have real numbers a, b, and c, and a is less than b, then if I add c to both sides, a plus c is still less than b plus c. So I tried a couple different ways to show you, hey, honest to goodness, this is true. If 5 is less than 6, which obviously it is, and I add 3 to both sides, I have 8 is less than 9. Okay? If I just choose, instead of two positive numbers, I choose a negative and a positive number, and negative 4 is less than 2, and I add 3 to both sides, I get negative 1 is less than 5, which is also true. If I take two negative numbers and I have negative 8 is less than negative 7, and again I add 3 to both sides, I have negative 5 is less than negative 4, which is true. Okay, then I said, okay, now this is the addition property of inequality. But I wanted to point out to you that adding c to both sides, okay, versus adding a negative c to both sides, okay, depending on the situation, you still maintain the what they call the sense of the inequality. The inequality symbol still remains pointing in the same direction. So this time, instead of adding 3 to both sides, we're going to add a negative 3 to both sides. So 5 is less than 6, and we're going to say 5 plus a negative 3 is less than 6 plus a negative 3, and add a negative 3 to both sides. And sure enough, 2 is less than 3. So that's true. And then I did it again using a negative 4 and a positive 2, and added a negative 3 to both sides. And negative 4 is less than 2. Add a negative 3 to both sides, you get negative 7 is less than negative 1, which is clearly true. And then two negatives. Negative 8 is less than negative 7. Add negative 3 to both sides again, you get negative 11 is less than negative 10, which is true. So even though the property of inequality looks like it's only talking about adding a positive to both sides, truly, it's also adding a negative to both sides. Okay, so let's solve some inequalities that have positive coefficients first. Okay, remember the coefficient is the number in front of the variable. So in this particular equation, the positive coefficient is a, which is 0.3. That's a positive number, and we're going to solve this equation with a positive coefficient. So first we ask ourselves, is it in the form of ax plus b equals c, or greater than or equal to c rather? Okay, and yes it is. Okay, and a is 0.3, b is 7, c is 70. So like we did with equalities, we're going to subtract the same number from both sides. We're going to subtract 7 from both sides. And after we do that, we're going to be here at 0.3. N is greater than or equal to 63 after we simplified. And so that got rid of b. And now we're going to get rid of a by dividing both sides by that positive coefficient, which is 0.3. And we're going to get n is greater than or equal to 210. Okay, then we want to do a check. Okay, so we have two answers for this. We have 210, which is an answer, but we also have all the numbers greater than 210, so we have to check both of those things. Okay, so go back to the original equation, and in the original equation, substitute first the 210, okay, the number that makes it equal in that solution. So when you put 210 in, you get 0.3 times 210 plus 7 is greater than or equal to 70. And 0.3 times 210 is 63. So 63 plus 7 is greater than or equal to 70 because 70 is greater than or equal to 70. It's obviously the equal to part. Then the second part of this